Yeah, fellas. How are you? It is 9:34 Central Time, Sunday morning. I think it's Mother's Day, is it not? Happy Mother's Day to you. Hey, amen, whatever. Is it Mother's Day or is it next week? It's really hard to tell because I started advertising for Mother's Day like 3 months ago. So I think it's today, but whatever. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Father's Day. Happy whatever day. Good to see you. Anyway, so I was poking around this morning while I was thinking about, how long should I stay in bed before I start drinking beer again? Oh no. Yeah. 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 Well, I decided to take out the trash. Let's see, what else did I do yesterday? Worked on the car a little bit. Yeah. I didn't personally. I paid someone to work on the car because I can't in the apartment complex. They don't let you work on the car. And that's fine. Wait a minute. What is this? I don't want to see that. All right. What are you doing? Tom Laundry is here. Jungalore. Good morning. so I paid someone to change the oil. And then I was cleaning the car out. I found an old pack of cigarettes. Anyway, hey, if you want them, feel free to come by and you can have them. But they're going to be 2 or 3 years old, so I'm sure they wouldn't be too exciting to smoke, if you know what I mean. Then I changed my air filter. What else did I do? Oh, yeah, I got the car washed because I had to do that. It was like the whole year of grime. It was disgusting. And the oil change, it turns out I went out, went a little farther than I probably, the mileage was okay. It was the time frame. I hadn't changed the oil since January of 22. So I'm going to be a little more careful with that from now on. Finish It is here. Hello. Hamster's live. Yes, I am. Hope you're all well. Everything's going well. King Charles coronated yesterday. That was a sight. Did you watch any of that? That was pretty cool. The thing that surprised me about the coronation, and of course I wasn't here when Queen Elizabeth was coronated back in the 50s. It was very, very religious. There was a lot of Jesus in there and a lot of God and all that stuff. It's pretty interesting. So a lot of, pomp and circumstance, all the bling, that only comes out of the warehouse once in a while, the jewels and all that. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, so I'm Mr. Hemi Speed is here. Hello. Hey, Hemi, did you see Brandon's attempt at being a blacksmith yesterday? Here's Ike going, oh, yeah, take this thing, heat it up, whack, whack, whack. And then Brandon's like tapping it, like little love taps on that metal. We might play that later. I don't know. I think that could be. Mr. Hemi says King Chuck is godless. Well, then he was lying. Because he's, I'm going to be the protector of Scotland's, church and all that. So he swore in the Bible, So I guess if he doesn't believe in God, yeah, well, I guess he'll have to worry about that later. Brandon made me a. Oh yeah. Anyway, so let's jump in. As you know, everybody's kind of ripping on Steven Crowder, and I think for good reason. That if that video is actually true, that we all have seen already, yeah, it's not the way you do things, man. That's bad. I mean, I would recommend not getting married in the first place. But if you get married, you can't treat your wife like that, and vice versa. Can't treat your husband like that. But again, that's a whole other story. Of course, David Packman being more on the left than the right, I suppose, he's going to use Crowder as an excuse why only right-wing Nazis might support no-fault divorce or don't want no-fault divorce.
Go on. Well, I woke up this morning and I said to myself, good, sir, we should really do a show today. There's a lot going on. And so,
sir, we should really do a show? That's kind of weird phrasing. Hey, sir, we should do a show. I don't know. Maybe his wife or whatever is his name, sir. Hey,
here we are. That's the context in which today's program is being produced. One programming note, dozens of people write.
Yeah, nobody cares.
And Dave, answer, but Lex said it would be 3 or 4 days from when we filmed it earlier.
I'm sure everybody is waiting with throbbing cocks to see you interview on Lex Friedman. I'm certain everyone can't wait to see you, David. Trust me. Why would I lie?
This week. So I would guess by the end of no, and I don't have any control over it, but I'm as eager to take a look at it as some of the other folks.
Oh yeah, we are too. We just can't wait. Hamster, why are you such an asshole? Because it comes naturally.
To the audience are. So we'll know about that very, very soon. All right, listen. I've been waiting for this, and it is now happening.
Oh, good.
Republicans, right-wingers, MAGA types, Steven Crowder, and others are now coming after what we call no-fault divorce.
I see.
Which essentially translates to they want to force women to have to stay married unless they can give what some consider an acceptable reason for why they should be allowed to get divorced.
You know, such as adultery, such as spousal abuse, you know, other kinds of abuse, stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm not sure that's such a bad idea. Now, we've had no-fault divorce for almost 50 years. And I think we can see what's going on. Can we not, David? Of course you can. Because you live in a bubble. You don't see anything except MAGA bad, Nazis, fascists, blah, 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 blah. My side's all pure as driven snow. Oh, those poor women. Those poor women. You see, I like this binary. Well, we've got to have no-fault divorce or nothing. Is there any compromise in the middle where we could talk about things, say no fault, you know, but or whatever? There's got to be something. What's the current situation? And, you know, the funny part about this little man here, he apparently thinks it's only right-wing Nazis who think no-fault divorce is a pile of shit. I'm willing to bet you a cold beer there, David, that there are a lot of people on the left side on your side of the aisle that think it's bullshit too. Except for the fembots. Is that what you're trying to do? Are you trying to touch some fembot coo? A little coochie coo? Okay, simp, go.
What on earth am I talking about? Let's backtrack and let's set it up.
I
had no plan to talk about right-wing content creator Steven Crowder's.
Well, then you shouldn't have. What does Steven Crowder have to do with no-fault divorce? I'm just curious. Wait a minute. If I put Steven Crowder in the title, I'll get more attention. Is that about right, David? Is that about right?
Divorce on the podcast. There's really
Pick a man while he's down. I'm not saying what he did was right, treating his wife like that, but come on, people make mistakes. They've worked it out between them, haven't they? They got the divorce. They settled it. It's over. But let's keep talking about Crowder because, you know, he's the easy punching bag of the day. Now, do you think we're going to get 1 ounce of sympathy, empathy, anything out of this guy? Oh, it's terrible that they broke up in the family, you know, and the kids and everything. No. Nope. Prince Revolver says women gain from divorce and marriage. Of course, it's a one-sided contract due to no-fault divorce. Mouth agape, oppie. Hello.
No reason to talk about it. I don't know. There's nothing particularly newsworthy about it, except when I watched his brief.
Except I'm going to do it anyway.
Explanation of the personal trouble that he's having, and including this very contentious divorce.
Do you have any feelings of sympathy for the guy, for the family, for the kids? I'm just curious, David. I think even us hardcore Nazis over on the men's rights group kind of stuff, red pill, we don't wish this upon anyone. Probably even our worst enemy would say, oh my God, I hope that doesn't happen to that person. But you, well, let's hear what he has to say.
He seemed to sort of bemoan the fact that his wife can just say, hey, I want a divorce, and it's called no-fault divorce. You don't have to prove that someone cheated or whatever.
Yeah. You see, there was that little thing, till death do us part, blah, 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 blah. See now, David, what we have today, it's simply a government contract that is weighted against men. Do you see? No, of course not, because it's the poor women being oppressed in this country. Men have all the privilege. Don't you know?
To justify the divorce. You're just allowed to say, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. And in the video that Steven Crowder put out about this, he seemed to be sort of suggesting that that's a problem, that that's not okay.
Well, I understand where you're coming. I get where you're coming from, David. And it might be an interesting thing to think about. You know, here's this tape with Crowder. Well, she shouldn't be able to get divorced. Let's see what he has to say.
His wife maybe should be forced to stay married to him.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not the case. We've had divorce laws in this country since the beginning of time. So I don't think there's ever been a time where women were forced legally to stay married. Maybe I'm wrong.
And he's not the only one who feels this way. Let's take a listen. This is the video from, I guess now it's been about a week since this news broke, to the extent that it's news.
I have been living with a proverbial boot on my neck for going on years now. Since 2021, I've been living through what has increasingly been a horrendous divorce. Now, let me say on the outset, to be clear, there's no infidelity, any kind of physical abuse at all on either side.
Steven, every divorce is fucking brutal. Just like us evil Nazis over here have been saying forever. You really don't know your wife until you get into a court to get a divorce. You have no idea who that person really is deep down inside, in their darkest thoughts. You don't know them. It's fucking frightening. It is absolutely frightening when you get in front of your wife or soon-to-be ex-wife in a divorce court. You have no idea. Now, the problem here is the entire governmental system is on the female side. So that's like getting hosed up the butt with sandpaper or cut glass or something. It's even worse. I mean, it's bad enough. But you got the whole government on her side to begin with. It's worse. Anyway, Steven, sorry to interrupt. Go.
And no, this was not my choice. My then wife decided that she didn't want to be married anymore.
Well, if that videotape is any indication, I can understand. Sorry, Steven. You shouldn't act like that. Don't be a little bitch. You treat your wife like she's your queen. No, don't simp it. She's your wife. The mother of your kids. Don't say I'm Mr. Hamster Simp here. If you sign the commitment, you get married, you're having children with her, you treat her like a fucking queen. And she should treat you like a king. But we all know it doesn't work out that way. A lot of times. Go ahead.
And in the state of Texas, that is completely permitted.
It's permitted. It's allowed. As crazy as it is, you're just allowed to say, I don't want to be married anymore.
It's legal. Maybe Steven should have chosen his words more carefully. It's legal in Texas. But okay, David, go.
And I can't control that. So this is now building into a bigger story. And there's a very interesting Rolling Stone article. The next front in the Republicans' war on women, no-fault divorce.
Yes.
Steven Crowder is part of a growing right-wing chorus calling for an end to modern divorce laws.
Yes. That'd be good. I mean, you can keep the no fault, right? Why don't we could say, I mean, you can go through policy all day and figure out something, but let's take a swag. Let's just say you can get a no fault divorce, but then you fucking get nothing. Zero. You don't get alimony. You don't get assets. You want to punch out? Perfectly fine. Same with the man. You want to punch out? Fine. You don't get to keep shit. All right, rather you do keep shit. If the woman says, hey, I want out, okay, go. Done. You don't get the kids. You don't get alimony. You get nothing. Okay? Would that be a little tweak, David? Would that be a little tweak that would be accepted? Of course not, because you're oppressing women. Why shouldn't he support her? We know all the arguments by now, David. Go on.
And the article explains, and you can check it out. Steven Crowder is getting a divorce. He says it's not his choice. He says his wife is just allowed to do it.
Yep.
And the article says Crowder's emphasis on the state of Texas makes it sound like the Lone Star State is an outlier, but all 50 states and the District of Columbia have no-fault divorce laws on the books.
Now, Crowder, I don't know the man. I don't know his heart, his soul, whatever. But I'm wondering if he's objecting to no-fault divorce because she gets half of his shit and the kids and alimony and child support. And all she had to do was say, I'm not happy. You think maybe that's part of it? A little financial thing. Plus, he's not going to get his children, probably only see them once a month. See, David, I don't think you understand just how fucked up the divorce industry is in this country. I think you don't know. I hope you never find out. And I sincerely mean that. I hope you never have to go down that path. But if you do, you're going to find a whole fucking hidden underbelly of bullshit that men have to put up with. Now, let's continue.
Laws that allow either party to walk away from an unhappy marriage without having to prove abuse, infidelity, or other misconduct.
Primo Living BC, hello. Oh, the second part of that is, if you want the no-fault divorce that I was saying, this is a thought experiment. You get nothing. You walk away, done. Now, if you want to get some of the goodies and the assets, you got to prove something happened. There was infidelity, there was abuse. And we all know at this point, Gone with John, the bar would be so low. Well, he told me one time that I couldn't get some new shoes. Oh, yeah, abuse, yeah. You get half a shit. Yeah. Gone with John is here. Hello. There's no such thing as no-fault divorce. The man feels very at fault when he's losing everything. I know. I hear you, man.
Republicans are now unsure whether this is something that they actually want. And the article goes on to say, like the crusades against abortion and contraception, making it more difficult to leave an unhappy marriage is about control.
What laws are there against contraception? Just curious. Which are those? Are we going to detail that a little bit, David? Or are you just going to take Rolling Stone's word for it? Right?
Crowder's home state could be the first to eliminate it if the Texas Republican Party gets its way. Last year, the Republican Party of Texas added language to its platform calling to an end to no-fault divorce.
Okay, so what's the proposal then? Just totally, you got to stay married. You get married, you got to stay married. Unless you're the man, of course. Because if you're the man, you can punch out any time and throw her out on the street. No. See, it applies to men too, doesn't it? Okay.
This is another way to potentially control women.
Chaos for you. Hello. Brian Stoll just got here. Well, crack a beer, bro. Let's go. Shark Dentures is 100% what I've been saying for years. Exactly, Shark. I know. Okay, let me just go back because we might have missed what he said here. Hold on.
Another way to potentially control women. That's what this is fundamentally about.
Control women.
No-fault divorce is a legal process, which basically just means you can end a marriage without having to prove that any spouse is at fault for the breakdown of the marriage. And
yes, I got the concept. And
the history of no-fault divorce in the United States goes back to the early 20th century, but it really wasn't until the 1970s that no-fault divorce had widespread acceptance. And before you had no-fault divorce, I sound like Trump. Many people don't know this. A lot of people have no reason to think about this. But before there was no-fault divorce,
yes,
divorce laws in the U.S. were based on fault. And what that meant is in order to be
imagine that. Let's see. You sign a legal contract. You break the contract. Well, there's going to be some penalties for that, right? No. Not with respect to marriage and divorce. See, because if there's some kind of penalty or, it's a little harder to get a divorce. Well, you're obviously oppressing women. Yeah, clearly.
A divorce. In order to be allowed to get a divorce, one spouse had to prove that the other spouse was at fault for the failure of the marriage. And
oh, by the way, Chaos, you bring up a very interesting point. I'm even going to bring it up on the screen. It was 1917, but yes, the Bolshevik Revolution, Russian Revolution, they liberalized the divorce laws to the point where all you had to do was go out and fill out a postcard, file it, you were divorced, male or female. And so what would happen? Well, in the history, you can read it yourself. I don't have the thing in front of me, but you can find it. What would happen is men would go out in the spring or whatever, or the winter. They would find this hot young filly, have his, they get married and everything. And then the next spring or the next fall, they would sign the card and go off and get evil men. Anyway, good comment. Thank you.
And often it was adultery, cruelty,
Mhm.
some kind of abandonment, like they basically left already anyway. Sometimes insanity or what we might call mental illness. And then in the 60s and 70s, states started to rightfully reconsider that and say, hey, maybe people, in the same way that they can choose to get married, should just be allowed to choose to no longer be married anymore. And California was the first to pass no-fault divorce in 1969. And then by the end of the 1970s, most states had done the same thing. The really important thing to understand here, aside from what I believe to be the obvious logic, that you shouldn't have to make a case to be allowed to get divorced. You should just be able to say, I don't want to be married anymore. It's worth mentioning.
David, I agree. But there should also be no goodies going with you. Okay? No goodies. Now, I don't know how to work this. Again, we don't have to work the policy out here today. But it seems to me if the man wants to punch out no-fault divorce, he's got to fucking pay all the alimony and all that bullshit, half his shit and whatever. But there's got to be a solution here that we can figure out. Okay. Whoever punches out, the other person gets all the shit. I don't know. I'm sure we could come up with something. Joyful agony. Hello. Good morning. Good to see you. Welcome. Haven't seen you before. Mystery man. In communism, people are equally worthless, equally miserable. Oh.
That no-fault divorce significantly improved the lives of women as well as children in many situations by giving them greater legal protections and more equitable outcomes in divorce proceedings. Now,
so define equitable outcomes. She gets half the shit. She gets alimony and the children. How is that equitable to the man? Well, he just shouldn't have been such a dick. But she wanted out. She didn't want to be married anymore. So why should she get fucking anything? Or him, or something, right? There's a way to work this out, David. Now, another thing to consider, and Chaos, another good comment. Yeah, come in for the fall. Yeah. Another thing, I lost my train. That's okay. No, what I was going to say is simply this. Now, there were these allegedly oppressive things with divorce laws, 50 or 100 years ago, whatever. Can we honestly say, with respect to the marriage institution and the nuclear family and mom and dad, the kids, the dog, the picket fence, the SUV, etc., and so on, can we honestly say things are better today with respect to families staying together, kids having both parents? Or was it better before this? How do you define better? I mean, kids have a family. Kids, they have a home. Mom and dad are there. Mom's taking them to soccer. Dad's playing football with. That's what I mean by better. Oh, but that's so 1950s. Is it? And what was wrong with that? Rada, submissive wife, happy life 6. Hello, good morning, Rada. Is it Mother's Day? I don't even know if are you a mother? Well, happy Mother's Day anyway. Whatever. Happy Mother's Day to everyone.
You'll have the men's rights activists who love to say men routinely and sort of systematically get screwed over when it comes to custody in divorce proceedings, and it's unfair and all these different things.
What's your conclusion then, David, on what you just said? In case you missed it, we'll go back.
Custody in divorce.
We'll go back again. Go.
Systematically get screwed over when it comes to custody in divorce proceedings, and it's unfair and all these different things. I consider that to be a different issue that can be discussed on its merits, but understand.
But it's the same fucking issue, Mr. Dumbass. It is the entire same discussion. Gone with John says Mother's Day is the 14th. Oh, okay. Well, happy Mother's Day a week early. You know, warming up for the big day, I suppose. 4 kids. I didn't know. Oh, congratulations. I guess it's next week, but happy Mother's Day in advance. Chris Mitchell, the Emperor of Canada, has shown up in the building. Hello. All right. Anyway, go ahead, David.
Understand that prior to the introduction of no-fault divorce, particularly because it was during an era where women were statistically less likely to work, or if they worked, they were statistically likely to be earning less money than the husband in a heterosexual marriage.
Okay, let's. I listened to this part, and I'm not sure how I'm going to quite handle it. But I think what he just said is that, well, back then, women were less likely to have jobs, and they weren't making as much money. What about today? That's certainly not the case. Workforce participation, a lot of more women are probably working more than men. So why do we still have alimony? Wondering about that.
They were more likely to be dramatically disadvantaged and controlled by the lack of no-fault divorce.
Gone with John, you're such an evil son of a... How could you? How could you point out the obvious? Oh, you're terrible. You are awful.
And so no-fault divorce, as obvious as it is to many of us, and as standard as it is in so many other Western developed nations.
Oh, yeah.
It actually was a really significant change and liberating to some degree, providing additional rights to it became more common during the 1970s. So it's not...
Again, I think my proposal's fair. If she wants to punch out, no fault, she gets nothing. Seems reasonable, but
not a surprise.
I'm a Nazi.
Given that Republicans love policy that allows women to be controlled. Let's control what women can do with their bodies. Let's control
okay,
medically, etc.
Whoa. Let's go back here a little bit.
Allows women to be controlled. Let's control what women can do with their bodies.
I think, Mr. Packman, Pac-Man fever. I think, and I can't speak for obviously all Nazis, all Republicans, but I think a lot of Republicans really want women to control their bodies before they get knocked up. Just like you would say for a man. You hear it all the time. Well, I mean, men shouldn't be forced to become fathers. That's not fair. We don't want to force women to become mothers. Well, what about the fathers? Well, that's too fucking bad. You should have used birth control. Can't we say no? Nope. Nada.
Let's control medically, etc. Given all of that, it's not a surprise that they found yet another issue on which they want to go back to the 1950s. And again, that's quite literally what we're talking about.
What was wrong with the 1950s? What was wrong with that? Oh, well, there's racism and shit. Nobody wants racism, David. You fucking well know that. Nobody is saying, let's go back to the racist old days where black people couldn't go in the same bathroom. We're just saying with respect to the family. Was it really that bad, David? Was it? I guess for you, being a fembot, I suppose.
This was the law of the land in the 60s, started changing 69 into the 70s. I had
No
an
shit.
inkling when I saw the
Thank you, Ronald Reagan. Thank you. Go ahead.
video.
What?
They're going to go after this no-fault divorce. And now that is in and of itself becoming a bigger story. Horrifying stuff, but it is the party. It is the movement of going back to the 1950s.
Mm-hmm. So, David, and I know you probably can't coherently answer this because you probably don't give a fuck. Is it better to have intact families or is it not? Is it better to have men and women get married under fair circumstances than not? Just curious. Hammer hands here. Hammer hand. Hammer. Hammer, hammer, hammer. How you doing, man? Do we have a Sunday sermon tonight? Please put the link in the description if you have time. Thank you. Hammer hand, the Sunday sermon tonight, 6:20 Central Time, 7:20 Eastern Time, United States of America. Unless you're at, are you at the, is it the Indy race this weekend or is that next week? I think it's this weekend. So, well, good luck with that. Take some pictures. Show us some stuff. It'd be great. All right. All right. Yes, sir. We do have a Sunday sermon. Or he's at the, wow. Okay. It's Hammerhand. All right. Let's go ahead and do one more gin. Now, Tim Pool, the beanie, had some people on here from something called the Serfs, SERFS. I have no idea what the fuck that is. But I don't know, I guess they're lefties. Now, there's been much discussion on this little conversation. Let's just get some flavors here. And we'll think about, wait, let me blow it up. All right. Hey, Gon, is that the link? Okay, there's the link in the chat for the Sunday sermon coming up tonight.
You were talking about how women, how like disgusted you are that women may have an abortion in the 9th month, right? Or even
A viable baby.
of a viable baby.
Yeah,
that could, and I wanted to scream at that time, being like, women who have abortions in the 9th month, they're not doing that because they got bored, or all of a sudden they're like, oh, I don't care anymore. They do that because it's a fucking tragedy. Like statistically, women who are getting abortions in the 9th month is because there's a medical complication that could kill them. That's why they have to.
Okay,
do
well,
What do you mean
false
false?
argument.
False.
I
That's
already
the
said,
real world.
I already said viable.
All right, wait. Let's say that's the case. Let's say that a woman who is pregnant and she's at the 9th month or about ready to give birth, there's some horrible thing that's discovered. You know, the kid is, what is it? Has no brain, etc. Just really bad shit. Do the current laws restrict women from having to go through that and getting rid of, I hate to say it that way, but you know what I mean. I think most laws, if they don't, they should. Now, we're not talking about that, and that's what Tim is trying to make his point. We're not talking about the anaphylactic, whatever, the kids with no brain or they got 3 arms or whatever the hell it is, they're not going to live. We're not talking about that. We're talking about healthy, not sick babies ready to be born. Is it rare? I'm certain it is. Thank God. But should it be legal for women to do that? Just curious. Anyway, go ahead, Beanie Boy.
Try again.
What are you talking about, Tim?
I already said abortion
okay.
of viable fetuses at 9
God,
months.
This is ridiculous.
Do you know what viable means?
Yes.
It means the baby can survive on its own without medical complications.
Absolutely. And
why
the women
legalize
and
abortion of?
Doesn't matter, Tim. This guy has been programmed. This guy is brain dead. There's nothing left. All he's got is the narrative. Wow, if women can't have their up to 9, and I just I was thinking about this the other day. Would this be because we could ban it? It's probably never going to be banned. There's going to be some compromise, right? Dak is here. One fast Dak. Hello. Good to see you, man. Is there some compromise? Could we say that there's some time frame. Say you find out you're pregnant, right? You go to the doctor and yep, you're pregnant, sweetie, Jennifer, Johnny, whatever. These days it could be, who knows, right? Could we say, state law would say something like, okay, from the moment you find out you're pregnant, you have 6 weeks. Would that be fair? Would that be a compromise we could live with? Now, I know the the real hardcore pro-lifers, no, okay, unfortunately, this country is not a majority pro-life country. But would that be a reasonable situation? Of course, in case of rape, incest, health of the mother, kids, unviable, all that. Think about that, right? 6 weeks after you find out you're pregnant. You go to the doctor, whatever. You got 6 weeks. I don't know. Seems reasonable to me. But
Viable fetus is at 9 months when the baby could just
Women
be
are
delivered.
not getting abortions at the 9th month for pleasure or because they want to suddenly do it for kicks. No, that doesn't happen.
Why
It's a
legalize it?
tragedy.
It's
It's
why
a
legalize it?
tragedy.
for the most part, they're not. But it's still legal. You fucking airhead.
Of
Why
the
legalize
highest,
it? Why legalize
because there are medical operations that could kill the mother and they need to get an abortion.
Why legalize?
I just told you that's the reason why.
So all right, I'll try and break it down for you. Can the baby survive? Let's talk about a baby. The baby can survive on its own. Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Abortion is defined by Planned Parenthood and the law as terminating the life of the baby.
Correct.
Why terminate the life of the baby if it can survive on its own?
Because
Brandon Trueblood, by the way, I watched your video, sir. You have a nice plumber's ass crack. I was just kidding. That was good. It was a good video. You can post the link if you want to, please. Go ahead.
it could kill both of them. That's why it is done at that stage.
So how
It
do
could
you
kill
how do you
one
get-
or the
how do you
other,
get
and they
baby
have to
out?
make the tough decision
And
at
how
that
do you-
point.
So how do you remove the fully formed 9-month baby at that point?
Well, you suck it out. You basically crush its skull, and I don't want to go. It's Sunday, but it's not pretty. It's not. I mean, you got a baby there, and you're ripping the baby.
I don't know the science of it. I've never performed that operation
So
before.
shouldn't the law then be, if the baby must be removed and it is alive and capable of survival, all actions must be taken to preserve the life of the child and the mother?
I would say they'd probably choose the mother first, right?
Sure. Yeah, there's a dire situation. If you keep on with this pregnancy, you're going to die. Yeah. Sorry. It's horrible, and the situation is really bad. Where the kid that's but hey, you gotta put the line in the sand somewhere. And it seems to me if the mother is going to die, keeping on with this pregnancy, she wins.
Why?
And this is such a strange scenario. How often do you think that this happens and all of a sudden they're like, the baby could have lived. You could have done it. Why did you choose the other option? It's like, this is a tragedy of the highest order because they want to have the kid. At 9 months pregnant, a woman is on her way to give birth. So
Yeah, what he's doing is he's using corner cases here, Rada. You know that. That's the way these people work. Well, but what about that 9-month anaphylactic child? What about a C-section? What about that? Well, it's just no.
it's like, it's the worst possible fucking thing that could happen to her.
Because there's no answer to this. The only answer is she can do whatever she wants anytime up to 9 months in Colorado. They'll get there.
That's not always, again, I said I didn't want to dogpile,
No,
but that's it's statistically not true. There have been surveys done on women who had later abortions, and for a pretty large sum of them, it's because they were not sure whether the father of the child was willing to commit, and then when they found out he wasn't willing to commit, they would have the abortion. And so there are different stats you're going to find for different points in pregnancy when it comes.
When he says willing to commit, mean pay for it.
All the way along to 9 months. I don't have the statistical data on that. However,
What if the dad was willing to commit there? Sharp E, Chucky. What if the dad was willing to commit and she said, fuck it, I'm going to have an abortion anyway? What nothing? Nothing.
I do know for later term abortions, there are reasons other than what is traditionally considered to be a medically necessary reason. For example, some people will say that a negative mental health outcome is a reason to abort a child later in pregnancy. So if the woman is depressed, they will list that as a reason for why the child had to be terminated to save the life of the mother, which is certainly not.
Zealot Master, you are correct. And I mean, even if he doesn't commit, he still's got to pay. Oh, but he can just run away and no. You see, these, not this guy, but these other folks, well, the men could just run off and get away. No, that's not the way it works in the United States. If you have a social security number and a name and a job, they will take the money. Go.
Not the case, very obviously. And to the point of what Tim is saying, when we say there's no such thing as a medically necessary abortion, the principle behind that is if there is an operation which is necessary to save the life of the mother, and then she miscarries the child as a result of that operation, which was necessary to save her life, that's not an abortion because nobody's intent was to go in there and end the life of the unborn child.
Yep.
And so if a woman's having complications where she has to deliver early, you deliver the child early, of course. And if you're at a point in pregnancy,
I mean, I hate to be that guy. Sort of. What is it about these younger men? Look at the guy's hands are like freaking needles. No, I'm not ripping the guy. I'm just saying, what is this effeminate shit? There's something in the water.
It's having complications where she has to deliver early, you deliver the child early, of course. And if you're at a point in pregnancy where the child isn't viable, that's a horrible tragedy. You still do what you can to save the child, but you can't always save the child, and we understand that. But to go in and rip the child apart to end their life is never something which is medically required, even though an early delivery may be.
Zealot Master says lack of beef. Well, maybe beef in the wrong places. Who knows?
Well, are there situations where if the baby is in, this is so harsh, in its complete form, that even trying to induce early pregnancy could kill the mother, so they have to break the baby's body apart so that they can get it out without killing the mother?
Break it in chunks, yeah. Except Rada points out an interesting observation. She being a woman who has 4 children, a C-section. There's always that. You know what I'm saying?
I've never heard of such a thing. So, and there are letters, by the way, signed by literally thousands of doctors who have.
I think this guy is the liberal tunes guy. So I mean, he's definitely not a lefty. But it's just like these young guys. I see him at work all the time. It's like, do you eat? What the hell is this? To be fair, birth control pills aren't that great. Yeah. Yep. That's why you use pills and a condom every time. Dern and iron knuckles, a beef enema.
Let me ask. Can
I just say one thing? So 88% of abortions are in the first 12.
Chaos. How could you say? Oh, God.
88.
Yeah.
88% of abortions. Less than 1.3% of abortions take place near the 8th or 9th month.
How many abortions
is that? Guttmacher?
No, I think there's the plastic containers. I think you're not wrong. There's some of that shit, pseudoestrogen.
Well, how many is that?
I don't know the actual numbers.
13,
this is the percentages.
13,000.
Okay, but we're talking about less than 1.3%.
Hold on, 13,000. That's the number of people who die from gun violence in the U.S. each year.
DJ Ronnie G, the other day a coworker whined about how a Florida judge didn't allow an abortion for a baby without kidneys. Well, that seems it seems like something like that might be one of the reasons that makes sense. You know, the child's going to come out and not going to live, you know, or have a very poor quality of life, but most likely not live. I mean, if you don't have kidneys, there's probably a lot of other shit wrong. It's a terrible situation. It really is.
Here that aren't suicides.
Gentlemen,
so that's
I am
13,
not here
000.
to justify abortion when it happens as in it's
But
a good thing.
No.
I don't celebrate
Brother, you're saying it doesn't happen.
No.
You're saying it doesn't happen. It
doesn't
happens 13,000 times.
I said it's extremely. There is 338 million Americans. I'm sorry. The numbers are going to be a little daunting. Yes, the numbers will be high. I'm not here.
Yet we should change the entire country based upon 0.001% of people who identify as, you know, other. Okay.
To celebrate that.
I don't understand your argument then.
My argument is that there's
if
a lot of human beings.
The thing is, people, guys, men and women, I've said it a million times and I'll keep saying it. Whatever it was I was going to say, I'm going to say it again. You need breakfast, hamster. Yes.
People die from guns. We have a problem, right?
If 13,000 people die from guns, we have a problem. Yes, of course.
If 13,000 late-term abortions happen, is that a problem?
These are completely different things.
No, they're not. There's still 13,000 people. Just saying.
How so?
Okay, so if someone died,
I'm sure Tim Pool is bald. Yeah, Prince. How could he not be? He's been wearing that beanie for like forever. So
that's why got it been shot. Were they killed? Did they kill themselves? Was it a suicide? Was it a gang violence thing? Who knows?
That's a good question.
Can I clarify? I don't want to argue.
Hold on, I need to answer this.
Well,
in the case of late,
yes,
but in the case of late-term abortions, more often than not, when statistics say, and when they are polled, they say the reason that they are giving it is because it's a medical complication that could result in the death of the mother or the child.
Right. So let's. Can we make the argument then that the use of guns on people are allowed?
How did we get to guns?
The use of guns of people are
to end their lives.
How the fuck did this happen? Jesus. Oh my goodness.
Is allowed.
So that's murder. You're describing murder.
Yeah, we we know of one of our brothers who is a big, handsome, big, bald dude, Hammerhand. He's got a hell of a beard, though. Isn't that weird, though, Hammer, how that works? You know, maybe you're a little light up on top, but your face grows like a forest. It's great.
So if Colorado, for instance, passes a law saying there is no medical requirement for an abortion, is it wrong to kill the baby?
Lunacy hallucinator. Hello, lunacy.
You're trying to compare murdering someone with a gun to a woman having to make a medical decision that could basically preserve her life.
No. I said not a medical reason. That's what.
Again, you're going off into la la land there, sir. This surf guy. We're not talking generally about corner cases. We're talking about the use of abortion as a form of birth control for women. You understand the difference? See what I'm saying? Go on.
I'm saying,
should she have the ability to have an abortion for any reason? Yes.
At 9 months.
At 9 months, I would say at 9 months, because it only happens according to the stats based on complete medical necessity. She has a right to do it.
Shot of whiskey is here. Hello, have a shot, everybody. Fired up. Nedamira. Hi, Nedamira. I need a beer before the shop closes. Yeah, I think we all need beer after this.
Hold on. Colorado legalized abortion up to 9 months with no medical reason required.
Yep.
Do you agree with that?
I agree with that decision, yes.
So the baby could survive on its own, and the mother is legally now allowed to just end its life.
She has the right if she wanted to. You're saying so in Colorado, and
it's not a trick question. I know,
but I'm asking you because you're the one who brought this up. I don't know what Colorado's specific law says. So if you were saying that in Colorado, women have the ability at 9 months.
I mean, Tim just told you what it said. Well, I don't know what it says. Where's your proof?
To have an abortion for any reason.
God, these people are fucking slimy. They're slimy. Oh my God.
They can just decide that abort. Okay, I think they should have the right to do that.
Now, without actually saying the words, this guy just said, I don't believe you, Tim. I think you're full of shit. That's not the way it is in Colorado. And well, since I don't really know, I'm just going to say no. You're lying to me. Of course, Tim doesn't come out and say that, but this gets a little bit heated. I think it's interesting. Hold on.
But the stats show that they're not doing that. But they should have a legal right to do that. Yes, it's their body. It's their choice, of course.
It's their body, their choice. Well, that brings up another interesting discussion we'll get to.
This is what I disagree on. I think if the baby needs to be removed from the woman, there's no reason to kill it. You know what I mean? Like you could just C-section and then put it for adoption.
As Rada said, you can get a C-section. Take that kid out of there. Take care of the problem.
I'm telling you that doesn't happen.
But it does. But hold on.
Like you might be able to bring up anecdotes, but the stats don't say that.
But hold on. Like, why allow it to happen?
Jesus, Tim, eat a fucking hamburger, bro. Look at the hands on this guy. He looks like a girly man.
I just don't understand. Are you arguing? Hold on. Are you arguing you oppose it and you think it's morally wrong, but you think it should be legal?
I think that women should have the right to decide what they do and have bodily autonomy over their own bodies.
We're not talking about her body. We're talking.
It
about,
is her body.
We're
Of course
talking
it is. At 9 months, even if it's still inside her, it's still her body. Even if it's a viable
but we're
baby,
talking
it's still
about
her
the
body.
removal of the baby. Yes,
The forceful removal of the baby, or
forceful.
so she chooses to have that. She
The
should have the
woman
right.
says the baby must be removed from my body. Why kill the baby if they're removing it?
I don't think they should do that. I would if
But you think
they
it should be
asked
legal?
me, if they asked me, Lance, should I do this? I would say no, but she should have a right. Yes, of course. It's her body still.
ZK Studios here. Hi, ZK. Good to see you. New listener to the hamster. Good always to see you. Hope everything's well. Happy Sunday. All right, let's get back to it. This is just starting to get good, guys. Here we go.
That doesn't
listen.
stop.
So, like, the woman is pregnant, the baby is viable and capable of surviving on its own.
Sure.
And she says, before it breaches oxygen, kill it. Do you think that should be allowed?
This is again the baby guillotines. This is why I brought that up.
But
What a weird scenario. This doesn't happen. This is not the real world.
But
Doesn't matter if it happens or not. Answer the goddamn question. You see how these people are? You see how these killers are? They come up with every goddamn excuse except to answer the fucking question. Go on.
it does. And if the argument is that it doesn't happen enough for you to care, that's fine. You're allowed to believe that.
Sure.
What I don't understand is it seems like your position is a rather shocked position where you recognize there is something inherently wrong with taking the life of a baby that could survive on its own, but you're also taking the tribal position of women should be allowed to do it anyway.
No. If you were to ask me, Tim, hey, Lance, do you think it's a good idea if this woman who's 9 months pregnant, suddenly she got bored with the pregnancy, she doesn't want to have it anymore, but the baby's viable? Do you think that's a good thing to do? I would be like, no, of course not.
Then why should it be allowed?
Because it's still her right. It's still her body.
But
bodily autonomy doesn't stop at my morality. Tim, it's not my choice. Right? It's not my, yes, but that's not my choice.
Why kill it? Why kill it?
That's her choice, not mine.
Why kill the baby?
Ask her. Ask her.
Okay. So my point is simply this. You don't need to be shocked by it. You're allowed to have that moral position. I think most people in America would prescribe that to be, would ascribe evil to that.
Sure.
That's the idea.
You can ascribe evil to whatever you want. That's up to you. That's your choice.
The idea that you would say
doesn't mean that she should
the woman
be
wants the baby removed.
He's flailing.
And then in the process, instead of letting the baby live, remove it, but kill it. Right? There's no reason to do that. You can give the baby up for adoption.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Kill it.
Look at this.
Right?
Look at his eyes. He's vacant. The only thing he has left is his programming, is his brainwashing. Look at the eyes. There's nothing there. You're looking at someone who is a zombie at this point. And I mean that. Guy's a zombie. Most of these people are. They just they spew their talking points and they expect you to, well, if you don't, and you come up with legitimate arguments, they don't know how to react. That's what we're dealing with. Renovatio, hello. Good to see you.
There's no reason to do that. You can give the baby up for adoption. You can drop the baby off on the doorstep of a post office.
I agree with you. I'm not disputing
So why
that.
legalize? Even if it's one. Why legalize? You see, this is the craziest thing.
Because her autonomy should not be cut off based on
You're right. It's a lizard person. Dak. It's a lizard person. I know it.
your morality. Because you don't think that idea is good. You don't like.
Prince Revolver brings up an interesting point and a very good point. If the woman doesn't want the baby, instead of dropping it off at the freaking post office, why not give it to the father? We can all make it legal, like sign a paper. She has no responsibility and he takes over the care of the child. What's wrong with that? No. I would rather just drop it off at the fire station. Amazing. Absolutely fucking amazing.
Like
but the baby's been removed from her body.
Well, that's if it was removed from her body and it was still.
He's also scared. You can see that. The eyes are big. It's like, wait a minute, Tim. Why are you asking me this shit? You know I'm a brain dead fucking drone. I'm an NPC. I can't support my shit. Because none of them can.
Still viable, right? And that's where the baby guillotines come in, because I don't think this happens. I don't think women on the 9th month get abortions with viable living children. And then
not the fucking point, you idiot. Anyway, I'm going to... I'm going to go get some more
Be
beer.
like, I don't want it, kill it. I don't think that happens.
I mean, you don't have to think it happens, but statistically it does, because your entire argument is this only happens for reasons of the health of the mother or the health of the unborn child.
I said,
so you believe
I said the statistics show that at the 9th month, if a woman is going to have an abortion, it's typically because it's a medical complication that could either endanger her or the child's life.
And what I'm saying is there are doctors who will justify that by saying the medical complication is she is depressed. That is literally one of the reasons given in surveys of women. And another reason that is given is that I know a man who I was going to be with.
Okay, but Seamus, I got to stop you because this is a nebulous argument that doesn't get anywhere. And I can respect the point that if you go to a left, if you try and look this up, you're going to find left-wing.
Dak, none of them do. None of them have a decent argument. Just a women's right. Well, what about the then you get pushback, even from Tim freaking Beanie Pool. The guy can't even fucking come up with, well, there's stats about that. You're going to show us a stat? Well, yeah. What do you mean? What, want my receipts? Listen and believe. Fuck you. No.
Sources and right-wing sources that will contradict each other. So my question is strictly on the legality of terminating the life of a child.
Yep.
I can sit here and pull up, oh, hey, here's one. Women abort Down syndrome babies late term rather frequently. I think that's wrong. I don't think that someone's life is forfeit because they have Down syndrome. But your argument is that they do.
No, it's not. That's a strong.
No. Your argument is that women have a right to terminate a baby for any reason at any point.
Yes, they should have the bodily autonomy to make that decision.
So what I'm saying is, in the circumstance of Down syndrome, I think it is wrong to terminate a baby's life at 9 months simply for having Down syndrome. But you would agree she is legally allowed to do so.
I think she should be legally allowed to do so. Whether or not I think that's a good idea is irrelevant.
Well, then there's the clarification. I think it should be illegal.
Okay.
I think
so there are limits to how much bodily autonomy women should have.
So yes, right.
So that's your stance.
The approach.
Shot of whiskey. They always go to the corner cases. You know that. We've talked about this a million times. It's always the corner cases. It's the woman who was raped, or the incest victim, or the mother's going to die. Let's talk about the 99 point something % of women are using this as birth control. See, they give you all this shit. Look at this shiny thing over here. Look at this shiny thing over here. Let's talk about the one in the middle. 99% of abortions are for convenience, not because of all this bullshit. But again, go argue the corner cases. We're talking Mott and Bailey here. We know. Pixels going their own way. Hello, Pixels.
Choice argument, because you're pro-abortion, right?
Sure.
Pro-choice traditionally in this country limits it around like 15 to 16 weeks, meaning if the baby is dependent upon the body of the mother, then it is the body of the mother and she has final say. If the baby is viable, it can be removed in a process that ends the pregnancy but doesn't end the life of the baby. That's kind of like the compromise.
Yeah, a C-section, right? Just like Rada said. You know, if there's going to be some things, some complication, say the woman, it doesn't have the, she's not big enough down there to, get the baby out without problem. C-section, a cesarean section. It's been around for 2,000 years.
Where the baby gets to live and the woman no longer has to be pregnant. There seems to be this amoral argument where, but just kill the baby anyway, which doesn't make any logical sense. That's the pro-abortion side. So if you go back to the 90s, if you go back to safe, legal, rare, et cetera, if you even look at Tulsi Gabbard in 2020, that's where I'm at. Conservatives are pro-life outright. Seamus would argue abortion in any capacity should be banned entirely.
Yeah.
I'm in the traditional Democrat position. But you see, there is a tribal, amoral, illogical position of just let them kill the baby regardless. I don't.
Yeah, that was the position of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. Legal, safe, and rare. And that was only 30 years ago.
I don't see any logic there. I don't see how that makes sense morally or ethically or just mathematically.
Right. So you said I'm pro-abortion. What I'm against is forced birth. And I don't think the state should be forcing women to give birth against their will, which is what.
But do you believe the state should have the legal ability to make men become fathers against their will? Well, of course, because they should have used birth control. You fucking slime bag.
But your position and your position is as
So-
well.
so
And
I-
I'm against that. I think that's
I
creepy
agree with
government shit. I
Right.
don't think they should be forcing them and turning
Completely
them into
agree.
these viable wombs
I
against their will.
I completely agree. I'm against forced birth, just like you.
Cool.
Except my difference is that if the baby's at 8 months and can survive, they can take the baby out as if they would have an abortion, but not kill it in the process.
Yeah, Gone with John. You're not wrong. But I mean, notice what Tim said. You got to carefully parse this shit.
Months and can survive, they can take the baby out as if they would have an abortion, but not. Difference is that if the baby's at 8 months, completely agree. I'm against forced birth, just like you. Cool.
Except you're not against forced parenthood, Tim. You're not against that. So don't we have an issue to talk about here? I should think so.
Except my difference is that if the baby's at 8 months and can survive, they can take the baby out as if they would have an abortion, but not kill it in the process.
But there is, Prince Revolver, such a thing as the government forcing men to become parents against their will.
Viable at 8 months is
Why don't we just meet in the middle and say nobody should be forced to become?
Is it viable?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is viable at 8 months, dude. There have been
after
babies after
6.
20 weeks.
Bro,
that
your
have
whole
been-
position
yeah.
is that women have a right to kill the baby even if they end the pregnancy, and there's no logic there.
The logic is that I don't think you agree with forced birth at a point.
How?
How at 8 months? At 8 months, Tim Pool thinks forced birth is fucking cool and poggy.
Stop making up stupid bullshit.
But
dude.
no,
Hold on.
Bullshit. Renovatio, Dr. Hamster. Our Feminist National Women's Council of Ireland are now calling to repeal the Infanticide Act of 1949, making it legal for a mother to kill her child up to 1 year old for women's rights, of course. Hopefully that excludes all the ginger kids because we need more gingers.
That's what this is.
Bro.
This is 100%.
Nonsense
100% forced birth.
Nonsense statement,
No.
because I already said I agree with you.
No,
a woman,
you
a
agree
woman
with me
should be
up
able
to
to
a
end her
point.
pregnancy
You
whenever she
agree with
wants.
me up to 8 months,
A
Tim.
woman could end her pregnancy whenever she wants. Say it. Tim Pool said a woman can end her pregnancy whenever she wants.
Yeah,
I demand you
aborting
say
and
it.
giving birth are both
you
ending a pregnancy.
make up something fake. Tim Pool agrees with forced birth is a false statement. You're lying. I have already said I believe that women have a right to terminate their pregnancy up to a certain amount of time.
At 8 months is
and
where you draw the
then-
line.
No, I
That's-
didn't.
Yes, you
No, I
just said that. If the baby is viable, that she shouldn't have the right to be able to terminate it.
To
right?
kill the baby.
Yes.
I said she can end the pregnancy whenever she wants.
And ending the pregnancy can be giving birth or aborting the
or
baby.
a C-section that keeps the
Oh,
baby
so
alive.
she has to be forced to give birth against her will in a C-section, but the baby is viable and they give it
So
off.
how do
This is nice and fiery. I like this.
Remove
So
the
hold on.
baby at 8
Either way, the
months.
baby comes out of her. You're
Right,
saying that
so
it's
you
more-
literally want forced birth. You literally
No,
want to force women
dude,
to give birth
hold
against their
on.
will.
So
Can I just
you're
interject
saying
here?
I can warm my hands by the fire. Oh, you got something coming up, John? All right. Hey, well, good to see you, man. Come back later. Don't miss Hammerhand, the Sunday sermon tonight at 6:20 Central Time.
You're saying they should use the tools to rip apart the body and pull that out, whereas I'm saying they should just take
No,
the
I'm
baby
saying
out.
she should have the right to decide what happens to her body. That's it.
Okay, but either way, the child is coming out. You're making this argument about forced birth. Either way, what is in her body is going to be outside of it. The question is it okay to shove forceps into the skull of the small person who's inside of her and then tear them apart limb by limb to get them out? Or should we say, no, that's not an acceptable way of delivering a baby. You shouldn't kill that unborn child. How is that for either way it comes out of her body? Either way the child comes out of her body. It's not as if there's one scenario where the pregnancy magically disappears and doesn't leave the body.
Let me add, forced birth is a nonsense politics statement.
But in your scenario, she's being forced to give birth against her will. Like she can't
She's
decide.
already pregnant, dude.
I know, but
we're not talking about forcing her to do anything. She's pregnant.
But then endorse that position.
I did.
Stick by it.
I know. I reject there's no such thing as forced birth. They're saying you can't kill that baby.
Let me tell you how fascinating this is.
Because she
the
has
left
the baby inside her.
is so
Yes, she does.
fervent about legalizing the killing of a baby at 9 months that I can sit here and say I think women should be able to terminate their pregnancy whenever they want. But if the baby is viable, there's no reason to kill it.
She has to be forced to give it. Then she has to be forced to give birth and then give the baby up. Is what you're saying?
Give birth. Define.
Yes. Okay. So that is forced birth, right?
So
she can't decide to terminate it.
Yes, night vision goggles. I hear you. Brian Stahl, soy boys argue. Oh God, why you guys are mean?
At 8 or 9 months.
Define give birth.
You just said at 8 months of the Bible.
I didn't say 8 months. Define give birth. I'm trying to understand what you're saying by forced birth. What is?
Who is this twit? He is with an outfit called I don't know. It's in the freaking link. Whatever. Something. Safe sages.
What does birth mean?
You just said when she is at 8 or 9 months. Okay, so she's at 8 or 9.
I said viable.
Okay, so the baby's viable. She should have to give birth to it in some capacity. C-section, whatever.
Define birth, and I can answer your question.
Birth, the removal of a child into the world from a mother's womb.
If the so how do they do that?
The woman pushes the baby out.
So then, what would you call an abortion at 8 months? Is the woman pushing the baby out?
No, it's most likely a medical procedure done by a doctor.
And what is that medical procedure?
An abortion.
Dilation and curtation, dilation and suction. This stupid fuck doesn't know anything. He doesn't know nothing.
Like, but what is that?
What is an abortion?
Yes, like what?
How it's done?
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure how it's done at 8 months. I know earlier on it's usually done with.
Yeah, the reason why lunacy halcinator, why rabbits have like 18 children, because most of them die. It's one of those things. Quinn, average Democrat voter. Yeah, fucking scary, ain't it?
With a series of tools. I don't know how it's done at 8 or 9
Okay, so your moral argument is forced birth. I'm trying to understand what your position is. If you don't know how an abortion is done, then are you in favor of forced birth?
Am I in favor of forced? No, I'm against forced birth.
But you think that women should have to expel the baby, right?
It's completely fine for me not to know the medical procedure of how abortion is done to stand up for the rights of a woman's body. I don't need to know how people perform abortions directly. I'm not going to lie here. I'm not going to pretend.
Removing a baby from a woman's body is birth.
Oh, so you're saying it doesn't count?
No.
I'm of a different nature.
I don't think you have a definition, and I'm trying to understand what you mean by forced birth. But if you can't define the removal of the baby in a different way, I don't know what you're saying.
Birth, Tim, like the birth of a child.
So it's a C-section of birth.
Sure, yes, it is a form of extracting a living child that is viable to live in the real world.
Super turbo death shark, exactly. Why can't this guy just come out and say, hey, whenever a woman wants to yeet her child, it should be legal? Yeah, there you go. He won't say that. I don't know why he won't say that, because that's really what he's saying.
That's how you define birth. Extracting a living child to live in the...
Osmond, is it N-I-L-G? N-L-G. Sorry, Osmond. NPC don't know the procedure of abortion. Of course not. It's just a bunch of cells, isn't it? It's just a bunch of cells.
Real world. No, I would define birth as someone giving birth. They're pushing a baby out of their body.
So right. So I don't think women should be forced to do that, right?
You don't think women push babies?
Maybe it's got now.
So you know,
I don't know.
That would be just birth.
So
she's forced to give and make a viable child, live in the real world.
I mean, so when you're pregnant, the baby's going to come out of you at some point.
That's
either we rip
no
it
matter
apart,
what
or
happens,
you give birth
the baby
naturally.
is coming out of the woman, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's no being in favor of that or not. It happens. Period.
Durnan, Iron Knuckles. Yeah, I think this idiot, he just wants to get next to his feminist poon. Or, well, who knows? Rusty Rivers, hello. Good morning, James. Good morning, Rusty. Captain Crunch is here.
Yes.
Hey.
Okay, so what's your point?
What's my point?
Am I in favor of a natural process by which a woman has to have a baby removed from her no matter what anyone says or does?
Your point is that at 8 or 9 months, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Tim.
You are wrong. Yes, I'll stop you right there, because I know because when you keep saying 8 or 9 months, that's not what I said over and over and over again.
Viability is after 6 months.
Viability is
that means that there's more than a 50% chance of
you're also wrong.
It's 24 weeks. So what is that? 24 times whatever.
Not 6 months.
So as soon as the baby
it's not 6 months.
So as soon as the baby is viable, Tim, as soon as the baby is viable, then it's okay for the woman, even if she doesn't want to have it anymore for whatever reason, she should have to be forced to have it extracted from her and then live. Is that correct? Is that your position?
Well, it's not forcing the woman to have a baby live if the baby's already alive. You see what I'm saying? Like,
right. So you're okay. Here's semantics.
I got a compromise for you. I got a compromise for you. We'll tell the mother we killed it, but we'll sneak it off and give it to someone else. Does that work for you?
No, because I still think she should have autonomy. She should have the right to do it if she wants to. Of course.
She should kill the baby after it's already born?
I don't want her to kill a baby. I want her to have...
Why do you keep saying it?
Because I want her to have the ability to choose. That's different. And that is a fundamental part of this.
The baby's out of her body, right?
Forcibly. In your scenario.
No. Let's say 24 weeks. The woman goes to the doctor and says, I want this baby out of me. And the
What if she says, I don't want to have this baby?
I don't want to have this baby.
Okay.
Okay. And the doctor says, I will remove it.
Okay.
Uh-oh, the baby's alive. What do we do?
So you forced her to give birth.
No. She said, doctor, I'd like an abortion. He says, you got it. Step
And so
right up.
he's lying to her.
No. He does the abortion and it fails. And
An abortion is terminating a pregnancy. So there's no such thing as a trick abortion. You can't trick.
They're called failed abortions.
Failed abortions.
Yes.
Where doctors trick
right.
women into taking the babies.
No. So when they perform the abortion, as Seamus explained, they stick metal tools into the brain, scramble it up, and rip its body parts apart, and then pull it out chunk by chunk.
Yeah, little dead eyes here has no idea how this all works. That's fucking hilarious. He's like, oh yeah, well, do you know how it works? Oh, it doesn't matter. Women.
When the babies are smaller, sometimes they pull them out, but the babies don't die; they survive. Right. So my question is, in the instance of a failed abortion, what should be done?
A failed abortion being that the child is living, it's outside of the mother.
Yeah.
At that point, you cannot kill that child. That would be murder.
Oh, okay.
Agreed on that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So then where does the mother's choice come in to
before that procedure takes place?
So
she has a choice to choose what she wants to have done with her body. If she goes to a doctor and the doctor's like, I'm going to perform an abortion, which the assumption would be that I'm about to terminate the child, but then he just secretly sneaks the child out of there, that's not performing an abortion. You're just being deceptive.
Yeah, and the doctor should go to prison if they did something like that, in my opinion.
I think you go to prison if you should go to prison if you performed an abortion.
Snap.
Yeah.
I heard that. Not
Opposite
surprised.
perspective.
So there's also something that none of us know, because I don't think any of us are medical doctors. The difference on the physiology of the female body giving a 9-month abortion, having that happen, or the actual birthing process, whether by C-section or natural birth, it might have vastly different consequences on the female body. So that's something to take into account.
So wait. Remember the Born Alive Act?
Yes.
That was a Republican position, wasn't it? What was that?
Yeah, so there have been a couple of different Born Alive Acts in different years, but what they basically say is that if the abortion fails, it is not legal to kill the child.
Wasn't that Republicans were trying to pass a law?
Republicans were trying to pass that. That was one of the only things Obama voted on in the Senate. He voted against it.
Obama voted against it. But you would be in favor of that.
In favor of what?
The Born Alive Act.
I'm not completely familiar with it. So I have to
if an infant is born alive after an attempted abortion, it has the same protection of law and degree as a newborn.
Yeah, I would be okay with that, because at that point it's a human. If you're killing a person that is alive outside of a womb, then that's murder, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Can I ask you, this is
good.
not a gotcha.
We agree on that. That's great.
I want to ask in good faith. So
yeah, of course.
You believe that the moment after the child is outside of the birth canal, that they are now endowed with human rights.
Yes.
However, when they are inside of the mother, literally anything you do to them is acceptable because they're inside of the mother.
Oh, no, I don't think anything is acceptable, but I think the mother should still have the choice, ultimate authority over what happens to her body.
But there's a child inside of her body.
Hold on.
Not
what
her.
about meth?
Like, should she be allowed to do meth?
Yeah.
I think if someone is doing meth while they're pregnant, that it is completely acceptable for something like, I don't know what the name of the service is in the United States.
Child services?
I guess DCFS would be.
Oh, it's her body, though.
Yeah, it's her body.
If she wants to do meth, what's the big deal?
Now, this is a really good point. It's her body, her choice. So if she wants to drink heavily and inject drugs while she's pregnant, it's perfectly fine, isn't it? No, I guess not.
I don't know what the name of the service is in the United States.
Child services?
I guess DCFS would be.
Oh, it's her body, though.
Yeah, it's her body.
If she wants to do meth, what's the big deal?
Right.
The big deal is that she's intentionally trying to kill a child.
Hold on there a minute.
Yeah, and I say,
what if she's just wanting to have fun? Wants to smoke a little crack on the weekend. It's her body, isn't it?
Here we're going.
I don't understand what you're saying. It's her body.
It's her
If
body.
she wants to do meth, what's the problem?
Well, first off, doing meth is illegal, period.
What about in Portland? What about up there? Or just about everything is legal? I see.
No matter if you're doing it with a child or without a child.
Not in Oregon.
Methylenedioxide, MDMA. It's a
Maybe
type
it's
of meth.
alcohol.
Wait,
then.
sorry, what?
Not crystal meth.
Crystal meth
There's
is legal in
different kinds
Oregon?
of- no,
it's
not crystal.
Hold on a second.
MDMA is a kind of meth, methylenedioxide, methamphetamine.
I mean, this guy has no fucking idea what he's even talking about. Isn't that the fun part of the stream? Willie Jurgen is here. probably from Germany. Hello.
Ecstasy, that's a kind of meth. There's also crystal meth, which is not legal. MDMA is legal in some places.
What about heroin, though? You can get heroin up there in Portland, can't you? You could probably get crack, marijuana, all that shit. What about that? It's legal there. So let's hear the response of the NPC.
Therapy sessions. I don't know if it's legal
Yes,
for
it is.
pregnant women.
Okay, it is.
Is it for pregnant women?
Oregon decriminalized possession in
Wow,
2021.
you were right.
But I don't know if
But
that's...
okay, dude. So like,
decriminalizing possession is different than legalizing crystal meth. You know, those two things are completely different, right?
Oh, I see. Now we're going off on a tangent. Tell us about the stuff that is legalized. Heroin, cocaine, marijuana, all these freaking hard drugs in Oregon. You can take those drugs. You can do that if you're a pregnant woman. It's her body, her choice, isn't it? Isn't it?
Right.
What's the question? Whether you can press charges?
Hold on.
Yeah.
What?
So you
Shot of Whiskey says meth, heroin, crack, LSD, shrooms, all legal in Oregon. So isn't that her right? It's her body. Ain't it?
So when you decriminalize a small amount of drugs, that means if caught with that drugs by a cop, that means if you're arrested, you cannot be charged for 1 gram, 2 grams, whatever
that's
that
what
is.
legalizing is.
No, this is decriminalization, not legalization. We never.
Oddly, he knows all about those drugs. In the
So legalization is a semantic term. It doesn't mean anything.
Yes, it means
Either
that
a substance is
it
no
means
longer
that there's no
criminal.
longer a prohibition on that product.
Okay, so if a woman does meth, she's legally allowed to have it, right?
Is she legally allowed to do it or possess it?
I mean, what's the difference?
Well, two very different things. You can be
Not really. No. You stupid fuck. Jesus Christ.
legally allowed to possess drugs and not be legally allowed to take drugs, for example.
Alcohol.
So she does alcohol.
cigarette.
Can a woman chug a fifth of vodka while pregnant?
Cigarettes, smoking. That's legal in most states, and I think every state in the country. What about that? It's her body, isn't it?
She can legally.
But do you think she has a right to do so?
I think she has a right to do. Yes, she has a right to do it. I don't agree with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And heroin?
It's illegal.
I don't think heroin's illegal. I think heroin actually was legalized. I think it's controlled, but I think that one specifically was oxycodone and other drugs. So
what about Colorado? Where there's some high grade fucking kush. So perfectly good, no problem. Her body, her choice, doesn't matter. Fetal alcohol syndrome, all that stuff. That's all right.
She has a right to do it. Whether or not I agree with her doing it, that's completely different. I don't agree with a woman who would have an elective abortion.
So why are you oppressing women, you stupid motherfucker? Why are you oppressing women? Why do you hate women?
Oxycodone and other drugs. So
she has a right to do it. Whether or not I agree with her doing it, that's completely different. I don't agree with a woman who would have.
You don't agree with a woman? Do you not understand what you just said? Why do you hate women? Why do you oppress them? Now, this might be a little bit too fine of a point here, but he just said, oh, yeah, abortion's up to 9 months, but I don't agree with
She has a right to do it. Whether or not I agree with her doing it, that's completely different. I don't agree with a woman who would have an elective abortion at 9 months. I think that that is like, why the fuck would you have done that? But I think she has the right to do it, right?
But do you think it's ethical that she, like...
Oh, I don't think it's ethical. No, of course not.
Because some things are made legal that are unethical, in my opinion. True. And should those be made illegal?
I mean, that's a very broad question, right?
No. I'm sorry. Personal use of methamphetamine is allowed. It's a civil citation, like a traffic ticket, not a criminal citation. Yep. So allowed maybe is hyperbolic. It is a civil citation to be caught using methamphetamine in Oregon. You get a ticket for it, but no crime.
So I just looked up the Born Alive Act, by the way. It says this bill is deliberately misleading and offensive to pregnant people and doctors and nurses who provide their care.
Pregnant people.
It is another attempt by anti-abortion politicians to spread misinformation as a means to get a warped political end, to ban safe and legal abortion.
All right, he's spewing bullshit at this point. Anyway, the link is in the description, so feel free to go and watch the entire thing. The point is, I think Well, I shouldn't. You said you believe women should be able to do anything they want with their bodies. Didn't you? Multiple times. And now you're saying when it comes to drugs, well, that's what I mean, someone did that. Contradiction after contradiction after contradiction. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget, Hammer Hand, 6:20 Central Time with the Sunday Sermon. I'll see you guys there. Take care. Thanks for coming by.